Welcome back to another episode in the Grammar School podcast. Today we are here with Ms. Rania Vrondou, a legal expertise in Cyprus. What is one advice that you will give to a new law student?
I think I would tell them what I would tell myself if I were in their age. Don't stress too much. It's not the end of the world if you don't get accepted in the university of your dreams. The university and the whole process of getting into university and studying any subject, including law, is just the experience. Is the skills you're gonna take, the person you will become in university and especially outside university with the people you will meet, the problems you're gonna have to face on your own, deciding the person you want to be, and the skills that you get from actually studying law. It's not really knowledge. Knowledge changes all the time. Information changes all the time. Today is one legislation, tomorrow is another. There'll be 1,000 different changes. The idea and the important thing is to know where to find the information, to know how to handle knowledge, and to know how to process it and how to apply it.
Ms. Rania, please tell us a bit about yourself.
So first of all, hi Maya, thank you for having me. My name is Rania Vrondou. As you mentioned, I'm a lawyer practicing in Cyprus. I'm a director at Hadjianastassiou Ioannides LLC, formerly Deloitte Legal, as you rightly mentioned before starting to record. I've been practicing since 2013, and I'm here to answer your questions.
Where did you study?
Well, I studied in the UK. I did my undergrads in Leeds, and then I did my master's in Bristol. I came back to Cyprus and I did my practice, and at the same time I was doing the LPC with the University of Law. Well, that wasn't something I was expecting. It was actually quite difficult having to work and study at the same time, but it was interesting, I have to say. And I'm actually currently a student with the University of Tilburg in the Netherlands. So I'm doing technology and law. Currently trying to finish with my thesis. So yeah, I think I'm a forever student kind of thing.
Your PhD is based on technology and law.
It's not a PhD, it's like a master's. But yes, I was interested to see how, law and technology, the new technology developments will affect law in the future and now as we speak.
Do you believe that actually technology affects a lot law?
Well, it's I think it's a question that has already been answered, and the answer is yes. I think that lawyers should know about technology, should know how to help themselves with the technology tools available now. And there is a quote I really like. So lawyers are not going to be replaced by technology. They're going to be replaced by a lawyer who knows how to handle technology. So it's very important. I know for sure that some universities have introduced software and languages and the computer languages in their courses. I think this is very useful, and it really introduces law students to the future. I also have a lot of friends, probably a little bit older than you, that have studied law, who are entrepreneurs, and they're promoting legal tools in the market now, which I think is very useful. And I can see how knowledgeable they are and how they see into the future. I think this is the future, and even the present, if you ask me.
Yes, I believe that. So also, what influenced you to start into law? Well,
I don't have a nice story to tell, really. Nothing motivational, nothing really fancy. I was a good student back in the day, but not really decisive as to my future. So I didn't really know what to do with my life. I liked many different topics. So at the end, I decided that law would be something kind of generic that, would keep my options open to do many things. So if I didn't want to practice, I could do in-house. If I didn't want to do in-house, perhaps a place in, the legal department of a parliament or in a company, or at least know my rights, or use that as a stepping stone to move to something that I liked in the future.
What is one advice that you will give to a new law student?
Well, I think I would tell them what I would tell myself if I were in their age. Don't stress too much. It's not the end of the world if you don't get accepted in the university of your dreams. I mean, I think the university and the whole process of getting into university and studying any subject, including law, is just the experience, is the skills you're going to take, the person you will become in university, and especially outside university, with the people you will meet, the problems you're going to have to face on your own, deciding the person you want to be, and the skills that you get from actually studying law. It's not really knowledge. Knowledge changes all the time. Information changes all the time. Today is one legislation, tomorrow is another. There'll be 1,000 different changes. The idea and the important thing is to know where to find the information, to know how to handle knowledge, and to know how to process it and how to apply it. So, well, I would say don't stress too much and just enjoy it every step of the way.
Do you believe that that LPC helps you in your job, in your current job?
Okay, I will say this. I'm not a litigation lawyer. I'm an advisory lawyer. I would say that what I enjoyed the most was my master's, because I had the opportunity to learn more and to meet professors and teachers that I admired and that they motivated me for the rest of my life. I think the LPC was useful. It was practical, but judging from what I do today, I think my master's really helped me with where I am today.
Do you believe that any professors that you had helped you actually build your legal expertise now?
Yes, actually, and I remember two of them. One was my thesis professor at Leeds in my undergrad. His name was Subjahid Bajou, and he's really excelling at the University of Leeds. And what he did, which I remember, at the time he was a younger professor. He was new at Leeds. He's Indian. He's from India. And what he did was he really helped me with my thesis in one terms. I was doing a comparative study with my thesis subject. And I really needed some German articles. And obviously I didn't know German. So I told him, I don't know German. And there wasn't any AI tool that would help me translate or anything back in the day. So he told me this, well, you know what? I believe in you. My wife knows German. So I will give her the articles and I will ask her to translate them for you. And he did. So that really affected me. And he really helped me throughout. He was really supportive. So that was really important for me. I was really young and very stressed. I didn't have the personality I have today. So that really motivated me and inspired me because of the kindness, not just because of the knowledge. Well, and the second professor that really motivated me and inspired me was his name was Nigel Farry. And he was doing insolvency law at the University of Bristol, where I did my master's. And to me, to this day, he is a genius in my eyes, because his whole course was based on studying cases and not really the book. And based on the cases that we had to study, which I hated it back in the day because there were a number of them every time. We would make our own results, and we would criticize the case. They would say, no, the judge was wrong about this because of this and this. And he would actually call the judges and would call the lawyers that were part of the case. And he would say, you were wrong on this point, and there is this case and this case. And he would tell us how they would hang up the phone on him. And he was like a persona non grata sometimes with them, because he would just tell his opinion in their face. So that was really inspiring for me. And this is what I'm trying to do to this day. So thank you to Nigel Farry.
What led you to do intellectual property law?
Oh, okay. So interesting story. I think I owe this to my dad, who has nothing to do with law. He's a policeman who always hoped that I became a criminal lawyer. So I'm sorry to my dad for this. So I had to choose elective courses. Okay, so we had some basic courses that we needed to do, contract law, constitutional law, and all these things. And we have some elective courses as well. So all the what I thought were interesting courses were like essay based and full by the time I decided what I wanted. So I was pretty indecisive always. So the only courses remaining were intellectual property and a couple of other courses. I was discussing this with my family, and my dad was like, "You should do intellectual property." I'm like, "But Dad, it's super difficult, and even the first session has like 200 pages as an introduction. I mean, it would be a nightmare for me to just combine all the courses together." And he went like, "You have time to party. It's okay. So I think intellectual property would be useful for you." And well, yeah, he was right.
What is intellectual property for you? Like, in your point of view, what it is?
I think it's a subject matter that everybody, not just lawyers, should know about, especially entrepreneurs, but everybody in life. Because really, you yourself, you could have rights of intellectual property, right? You should know what your rights are, like any other rights. But in today's reality, where everything is online, where everybody has you in a video or something, you should know your rights. You create things. So for me, what I do with intellectual property, I think it's what I typically say to my clients, your intellectual property is your most important asset. So because it's your most important asset, it adds so much value to what you do. Because most companies, they're tech companies now. They have products that are based on software and all these things. So effectively, the software is IP. The trademark, the logo, let's just say, is IP. The get-up or the design, the wrap is IP. So in order to be able to protect your rights, your product, what you created, you need to be aware of your rights. And these intellectual property rights are very important. And they keep developing and enhancing and changing with AI now and all the technological developments. So people should really know about IP because, well, they can come handy. For example, you can ask for royalties and maybe you don't even know it.
What do you enjoy more about your job?
Well, as a person who didn't always wanted to study law, well, I think I started liking law during my third year at university, during my undergrad. So during my second year, I was actually thinking of changing my subject to psychology. So I wasn't, in love with law.
Yes.
So I wasn't the person that always wanted to study law or always knew they wanted to be a lawyer. Those persons I admire, just to put it out there. But I started liking law during my third year. And the reason was that I could finally make the connection between society and law, how society and people and the different, the changes in the social environment would change the law and how the law would behave and how the legislator would behave. So I like this, how it constantly changes. And I also liked how I could discover things. So it's, to this day, every question is something new. So it keeps things interesting, I think. I don't do the same thing twice. So I think that's the most important consideration for me, for my work.
Will you change intellectual property law now and change it for something else, or you will stick to that?
Well, I don't have any regrets. Mm-hmm. So I say I chose this or it chose me for a reason. So I wouldn't change it. No,
I think stick to everything happens for a reason.
Well, I think every choice you make leads you to a different version of yourself. So there is no right or wrong really in where I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. There are just many different choices and many versions of who you can be, which you can do at any point in life. I mean, you don't have to decide at 18 what you want to be or the person you want to be, simply because just by studying or by, experiencing life, you will have many ideas and you'll be many different versions of yourself. So I think I'm happy with where I'm at. And if I change in the future, that would be because of a different choice. So I wouldn't change anything.
Do you believe that the university that you go, or any student of law goes to university, plays a vital role now in your law expertise?
Well, I'll be honest. The better the university, the better it looks on your CV. Mm-hmm. Okay, but in reality, it doesn't really matter. So whether you finish Oxford University or Leeds University or I don't know, any other university, at the end of the day, you will be called to do the same things and face the same issues with any other person who studied at a different university. There are universities that prepare their students more specifically than others. But at the end of the day, it's not just the university, it's also the person that you are, how resilient you are, how you resolve issues. Because at the end of the day, it's not just it's the skills, yes, it's the knowledge that you have, but also it's how you react to the problem. It's how you react to the question. It's how you process the question. It's how you understand the issue. And at the end of the day, it's the solution that you find. So you may find in the market, the clients will want a practical solution, not really an academic solution. So when I first started, I can say that I was more of an academic. So I would see the question and say, oh, yeah, so this is a good question. And I would reply like 2 pages of, what the law is. And I was super excited about it. And the client would come back and say, yeah, this is not what I asked you. Well, you may be a good lawyer, but what is the solution? I need 3 lines with the solution so I can, move on with my business and my plans. So I think any university is okay, but it's what I said before is your reaction to things that will matter, and is the person that you are and the skills that you have and the solutions that you will give that will make you a good lawyer. Of course, you need a good basis to do that. You need to be knowledgeable. But I think skill is 70%, knowledge is around 20%, and 100% is always gonna be your personality and who you are and your approach to things.
So when you're looking for a new lawyer, what are the qualities and the skills that you see in a CV?
Okay, this is a very good question, actually, because we receive quite a lot of CVs almost every day. But we're also always on the lookout for talents and good lawyers. Well, I think a good CV is always a good CV. It shouldn't be long. It should be short and precise and to the point. And I expect that the applicant and the candidate would be able to showcase their qualities in a very short and precise manner. Like, I don't expect a 15-page CV. You might have a lot of experience, you might have experienced a lot of things, but a 15-page CV wouldn't do it. I mean, I don't think I would be able to reach page 15. So I would say, obviously, mention the education, your universities, the subjects that you chose, and as far as work experience is concerned, a small description of what it is that you were doing at every job that you had. So instead of just saying lawyer at this company, take the time to create a short description on what you were doing there. So a lawyer is a very generic thing. So you could be doing anything. What were you doing? Were you in the corporate department? If yes, what type of work were you doing? Were you incorporating companies? Were you doing advisory? Were you helping with liquidations? Were you involved in joint venture agreements, shareholders agreements? What were you doing? So help me understand. Okay. And then I think there is some CVs have like a short paragraph under their name where they, introduce themselves. I found some of those introductions really nice. I mean, they really caught my eyes. So it's, they include some sort of a quotation that they like. or some of their what they consider to be their biggest qualities. So someone wrote, I'm determined and I'm passionate and I like this and this. And what resonates with me is this quote. And I actually liked it. So nothing too fancy. I would say a very realistic, pragmatic and to the point description of who you are and what you are doing.
A lot of people believe that lawyers spend a lot of their time in court. How strong do you believe that?
Well, I wouldn't know that because I'm not a litigation lawyer.
Yes.
I did part of my training with the public prosecutors. It was an interesting time for me, but that is where I realized I'd rather shift towards advisory. I admire people who do litigation. They need to have, they need to be very decisive and, they need to be really strong. I always tell my colleagues at litigation, I admire you. I don't know how you do it. But at the end of the day, I mean, talking with them and with different other colleagues who love litigation is you need to have a passion about it. They like it. They love it. They feed off it. It's unbelievable how when you talk to them and when you have a conversation with them, you can tell how much they like it because it's not an easy task. I mean, it's long hours. You need to do a lot of research, a lot of paperwork with the civil procedure rules and all the criminal rules if you're doing criminal law and all these things. So you need to know a lot of things, to juggle a lot of things, to be able to communicate with the client. It's not easy, and prep the client for court and all these things. So it's quite a difficult task. I think if you're opting to be a litigation lawyer, make sure you love it because there is no way around it. You either love it or you don't. And because the hours are long and it's a very demanding kind of a job, you need to have a passion for it. From what I hear, the UK bar is really helpful to prepare young lawyers who want to be litigation lawyers.
Do you believe that litigation lawyers should do LPC or the bar?
Well, again, I'm not a litigation lawyer, but I think from what I hear, the bar is more useful. And if I judge from my colleagues and their experience, most of them have the bar, and they are excelling. And because it's also one of my questions as well. When I ask them, they always tell me how the bar helped them a lot to prepare for court.
Okay, what does a typical day for you at work is?
Nothing like, American series, like the Suits or any other, current series with lawyers. I used to make a presentation comparing my life at the office with a typical day with a Harvey Specter back in the day. So nothing like it. So imagine I go to the office around 8:30. I do my coffee, I'll check my emails, I'll prioritize my tasks, and then a lot of research, a lot of email replies, a lot of calls with clients, a lot of, Teams meetings and Zoom meetings and physical meetings as well. But there is also the interesting side. You get to, every client is a different person. You get to hear their story, their needs. I think it's really interesting. So you get to learn a lot as well from that interaction with clients and people, and also from the interaction with colleagues. Because, well, one thing I've learned over the years is that in the legal environment and as a lawyer, you cannot really be a lawyer without a team. So we work in teams. Even litigation lawyers work in teams. And I think the most valuable asset that I have as a legal professional is my team and my colleagues, because I really trust them. I really trust that they're knowledgeable. So when I ask a question, I know their reply is 100% research and correct. And especially when, timing is really tight and you have to deliver things, having the luxury to rely on replies by your colleagues and by your team is unbelievably valuable. So if you want to get far, you will choose a good team.
Do you believe that a good team makes the best work for you? Like, if you don't have your team, you will not succeed that much.
Well, I think if you're a good lawyer, you will succeed in some way, but I'm not the person that believes that you can go anywhere on your own. And even if you are, you have nobody to share it with. So the idea, it's true, because let's say you win a case or something goes really well. You want to share it with someone who understands. So the team who was involved and, worked the time and put the effort in and did the research, we all get excited together. And this drives us and motivates us to, reach for more. So it's not just about becoming successful. Of course, you'll be successful with or without a team. But I think it's how you approach success and how far you get. Because let's be practical. You have 2 requests, 3 requests, you can do it by yourself. Even 10 requests, you can do it by yourself. But if you want to really grow, you don't want to restrict yourself within 10 requests a month, for say, let's just say, or a week even. You want to have 100, more and more. This means that you need to train people, share your knowledge, share views, have people that you can rely on matters that you're not really aware, because you cannot be experts in everything. So you're specializing in one thing, your colleague is specializing in another. Together, you're a power team. On your own, you're not. You'll be looking for answers in areas that you're not really specializing in, which is not a waste of time. You will always learn something. But at the end of the day, it doesn't add value at that specific time, right? So you need a team to get you far. Mm-hmm. So that's my personal view, though. So
Actually, I agree with you. And also, you specialize in trust law. What is trust law for you?
Okay, so trust law is part of private client services. Typically it refers to succession planning, wealth planning, anything that has to do with an individual's, organization and planning of business or personal matters. Trust is a part of that. Okay, so it used to be the case, but back in the day, it used to refer to land, really. When people went to war and they were giving their land to their neighbors to take care of until they came back from war. So it was literally, I trust you with my land until I get back, but then you need to give it back to me. So the idea of trust is that you give to another person certain assets to manage on behalf of and for the benefit of certain people. So let's just say I have 100 euro. I'm giving it to you as trustee, so the person I trust, to manage them and administer those assets for the benefit of my children. So my children are the ones that will benefit from your administration of the assets that I give you. So pretty much a trust is a pool of assets. It's not a company. It doesn't have any, legal personality. So it doesn't stand on its own. It needs someone to manage it. So the assets need someone to manage it. So the management is done by the trustee. And that's pretty much a vehicle that it's used for now succession planning, because anything you transfer to the trustee will not form part of the assets or the estate of the person transferring them. So it's sorry about this. So it's outside their. It doesn't form part of their assets or their estates. So it's easier for succession planning. So you don't have to go through the forced heirship rules, the wills and succession part of the things. You can decide what you want to do within the trust framework, let's just say. Other people, they opt for trust because of, I have children from different marriages. I know I want to give them specific trust to the, my children from my first marriage and the other to the children of my second marriage. I don't want the assets to be, part of my estate. I don't want them to fight over anything. So I divide the assets into two trusts and makes my life easier, let's just say. It's a good vehicle to have in mind. It's used in many structures now, even corporate structures and all these things. But mainly it's used for succession planning purposes.
Okay, do you believe that a lawyer is based on knowledge and fundamentals and not in problem solving, or is more problem solving than knowledge and fundamentals?
I think it's a combination of both. But if you're solely focused on knowledge, you become, well, what I used to be, for example, replying questions of my clients like it was an essay question. So nobody would appreciate that. I can tell you this. So even if you think that knowledge is enough, reality will tell you that you will need to become more practical in order to keep your clients happy. But I think the most important quality of a lawyer is empathy and creating personal relationships with your clients, because clients are people and they need to understand that in simple terms, you have their back. So this is my personal approach with all my clients. And this is how I would like to be treated if I were a client. So that's that.
What are some of the most challenges that you face in your job today?
Okay, I will start by saying any profession that you choose and anything you do, just make sure you at least like it. Not love it, not be passionate about it, but at least not hate it. Like it in some sort, because otherwise it will not work. So if we take it practically, so we work for 8 hours. So it's 8 hours of our day. It's a lot of hours. If you don't like it, it's going to be a nightmare, right? So the basis is at least like it or not hate it. Okay, so I will take it from this. I didn't always want to be a lawyer, but I like it or I don't hate it. Some people say I love it too much. I will accept it, so it's fine. Challenge number one, and the reason I'm mentioning it, challenge number one, we are trying to keep the working hours and be strict about it. And we'll always say to people, including myself, okay, we work from 8:30 to 5:30. We have an hour break, but try to keep the working hours. Why? Because we need people to be well rested in order to be creative, in order to be able to work. We don't want robots in any profession, but especially in law. A person that is tired and is on survival mode will not understand what they're doing. They will be focused on doing the work and get it over with. So it's important, especially in the legal profession, to have professionals that are creative, that can spot, the simplest thing, the typo, the spelling, because in our line of service, these are important. Presentation is important, or to be critical about things. So I always ask my team, well, what do you think? Is my approach right? Is my approach wrong? Do you agree with it? Can we change it? Can we make it better? To be able to reply to this question, you need to be creative. You need to be critical. So it's important to be well rested and creative in order to do all this. The expectation is for you to be creative. So if you're not, something is wrong. Either you hate it too much, or you're tired, or I don't know, you're juggling too much in life, right? So this is number one. We don't really get it right. Okay, so law is not a strict 8-hour rule. Sometimes it's going to be a 12-hour rule. Sometimes it's going to be, having to work overtime during weekends, and all these things. It shouldn't be the norm. My advice would be set your boundaries early, but make exceptions, right? Because it's if you're going to be working as a team, sometimes there are very strict deadlines. Sometimes we don't set our own deadlines. Sometimes the client needs something and you can tell they need it, right? So if it's a transaction, for example, or if it's a will, if you have a person who needs a will and they're not very well in their health and you appreciate that, so you will do it. You need to do it. It's important and it's an urgent matter, right? But if it's something that it's not urgent and it's not a priority, don't stay over time just because you want to stay or you have nothing better to do. Yes, fair warning, there are these people. So number one challenge is the working time. Either working too much or wanting to work too much without having workload. But that's number one challenge. Number two, as with any other profession, is having to work in teams. So we're not everybody's cup of tea, right? So we won't really like everybody. But the idea with working in a team is that you want to work with the best. We're not there to have friends. If we become friends, if we are friends, that's great. But that's an added advantage, let's just say. I don't think your team at work should be considered your family or should be considered as friends. Someone once told me, like, they're not your friends. Imagine them like a football team. So you don't have to like each other, but you're teammates and you have common targets and you want to win, in a sense, win. So you don't have to like them. You don't have to be friends, but you need to make sure that you have the best in your team to help you reach your goal and that they have your back. So that's that. You need to have in mind that, okay, perhaps you consider them to be rude. It happened to me. So I'm speaking from experience. Perhaps they're rude. Perhaps they are not giving you feedback the way you wanted. Perhaps their approach is very different to yours. But the idea is that they're knowledgeable and they are good at what they do. So you need to find a way to work with them and cooperate with them because you know that the result will worth it, right? So this is the second challenge. And I would say be open-minded because you might not know, but you might actually like the approach of another person. And you learn a lot from different people, whether you like them or not. I mean, some of my greatest feedback were given to me in very weird ways. I mean, I would consider them to be rude, but when I filtered the feedback, I realized that they were actually right, even though it wasn't communicated right. So keep an open mind and always consider what the other person is telling you, even if you don't agree with their approach or how they're telling you. You always have something to learn from them. And the third, I would say, as a challenge would be, I would say, work-life balance, or as many people say, I tend to say work-life integration, although my partner doesn't agree with me. It's important to have a life outside work. It's important to have a support system. It's important to have friends. It's important to dedicate time to any hobbies that you consider important and any causes that you consider important. So, for example, I have colleagues who like theater. So they kind of act in acting teams. Others, they play musical instruments. They have a band. Others are into photography. So it's important to have a healthy life outside work.
If you could change one thing in your field of law, what it would be?
In what I do, like my specialization.
Yes, in your specialization.
Nothing really. I mean, I tried to see everything. Well, I tried to experience as much as I could before I got to decide what I wanted to do. I didn't get to decide in the strict sense, in that intellectual property was never, I chose the elective because of my dad, I mentioned. And then I never thought I would ever practice intellectual property, but during my first work experience, there was a need that came up for someone to do intellectual property, and I was, I think, randomly selected, and that's where I got stuck with IP. I got stuck with IP from since then. So I think it's, although I didn't, strictly speaking, choose what I do today, I wouldn't change it. I'm happy with my selection or what came and found me. So I'm happy with it.
What's next for you professionally?
What's
next for you professionally?
Well, you may have realized that I don't plan ahead.
Yeah.
So I typically
step by step.
Yeah, day by day. But well, I think I'm grateful for what I have today. Obviously, the intention is to keep it interesting, learn new things every day, share knowledge every day with different people from different backgrounds. Some of the greatest input I had were from engineers and computer science friends. So I still believe that engineers could be great lawyers. For some reason, they're very practical and they can really know their rights. So yes, this is the intention, is to keep an open mind and learn new things and see where that takes me.
What's one book or a case that you think that affected you?
Interesting. That's interesting. I will say what I really liked when I used to study was not a case or a book, a person. That was Lord Denning. Some people hate him, some people love him, but I really liked how he applied the law in a way that he considered created social justice. So he wasn't always right, and he knew it, but he applied the law in a way that he considered for each particular case that he could make a difference to that particular person. So, for example, he once found a license to be a lease. He knew it was wrong; it was blatantly wrong. But the defendant was an old lady, she was very old, really. So he was asked about it, and he was like, it was blatantly wrong what you found. Your decision was blatantly wrong. And his reply was, yes, but until there is an appeal, a lot of years will pass, and who knows? And the old lady kept the house until the appeal. And by the appeal, I think she was already deceased. So I like how he made sure that justice was served, even though not in the strict sense of, if you read the judgment, his arguments are pretty correct. I mean, the result is completely different, but when you read it, it's not 100% wrong. I mean, he's the only person who did it, who didn't strictly apply the rules just to achieve, a paper-based justice kind of thing. He achieved social justice, and this is what I liked. He had empathy, and I think he liked people. So I really liked that. And he was the first one to mention economic unity. So although now it's like separate legal personality and everything is different, but in reality now, if we take how the business world works today, Lord Denning was right about the single economic unity. Personal view, but to me, he was 100% correct. So I think he's a person that inspires me to keep doing what I do, because he really loved people and he really loved social justice. And I think it's important to remember that when we apply law, not to be too strict and too caught up in what the strict letter of the law says, because at the end of the day, the law is there to serve people.
Do you agree actually with the quote of Lord Denning that law is a social mechanism, so social control?
100%.
What kind of things do you advise clients on trademarks and legislations?
So I recently wrote an article based on a question from one of my clients who asked, so Rania, what is a brand? So is brand IP? I'm like, actually, this is a very good question. What is a brand? It's not a trademark, but what's a brand? We all talk about brands. I mean, it's my brand. You see the Instagram is full of branding and influencers and all these things, and they all have this brand that they're trying to promote. So I looked it up a bit, and I said, look, what I ended up with was a brand is really, in a nutshell, is a feeling, right? Is how you make people feel, what you as the brand owner represent, what are your values, what's your message, right? So that's the brand. Based on that, you create a logo, right? You create a trademark, and you protect that trademark. And people, when they see that trademark, they remember you. Like, it's a badge of origin, right? It goes back to you. Based on that, I think it's super important to protect your logos. And what I tell my clients typically is, okay, so you're creating something, and you created a logo. What are you going to do about it? Really, because there is a certain cost in protecting trademarks, right? All kind of IP, but trademarks is the number one, because the first thing you do when you create something is you want a logo. So it's the first thing that you create. And they say, well, we will think about it. I mean, it's expensive and we have running costs and we'll see in the future. And what I say is, no, this is the most important thing you need to protect. And I typically say, before you even begin to run your business, like 6 months before at least, if you want to register an EU, or a year before if you want to register in Cyprus a trademark, you need to file for trademark protection. This is the number one thing you can do, and the best money you'll spend on your business. And you also need to have a plan B and a plan C. So for example, what if your trademark is opposed? Because if there are earlier trademarks and earlier applications that are similar or identical, they will oppose your application. So if the application is successful and you don't get to register your trademark, you really need to have a plan B and a plan C. What's the second option of a logo I have? What's the third option of a logo I have? So based on that, your whole branding will be, marketing, promotion will be affected. If you don't know in advance what you're promoting, then what are you doing? You cannot come midway after you prepare all your material, after you've created your brand, after you started having followings, and say, oh, I'm changing it because someone sent me a cease and desist letter saying that it's similar to my mark and I want you to stop using it. This happened to one of my clients, actually. And he had to rebrand midway. That was a disaster. So yeah, I would say be very thorough about your brand in general, your logo in specific, since we're talking about trademarks, and make sure you file for protection well in advance. If the cost is a consideration, the EU IPO has some funding for small and medium entrepreneurs, SMEs. So they give quite some money back. You pay and they give you a voucher, and then they return the money to you. Yeah, but I would say number one thing you do. And even at the stage of designing. So sometimes I ask my clients, once you're done with the designer, send me the first draft and I will run it through the databases to see if there are any preliminary risks that we're facing, and the designer can make some amendments just to make sure that we limit the risk of opposition when filing. So yeah, that's it.
Do you believe that law will be evolved by the changes in the EU and the global?
In the EU and globally? Yes. Well, it's our reality, isn't it, now? Mm-hmm. I mean, we have the EU directives that we have to transpose into national law. We have EU regulations that have direct effect. And they are matters that, well, we can, to a certain extent, control, since we participate with the, EU organs and bodies. But at the end of the day, we don't really have much say in how we do it, right? So the regulation is what it is, so we need to apply. And EU directives, you have limited discretion as to how you can deviate from and how much you can deviate from the wording of the directive. So we are deeply affected by EU legislations. We deeply affected by the international treaties that we have signed. For example, the trademarks, the system is similar to almost everywhere. Why? Because there was a treaty, most of the countries signed it, so it's a pretty much a similar system everywhere. I think it's a good thing, though. I think it's a good thing that we have common standards, especially for IP. I think it's a good thing that we have common standards because it adds predictability and certainty, especially for lawyers. And we can, be more practical towards our advice to the client. And as far as the EU is concerned, well, there are positives and there are negatives, but I think we have a certain structure with all the EU legislations. It really helped us to a great extent, especially with, let's say financial services, investment firms, all these, the regulations and the directives and the implementing acts and the guidelines from ESMA and as far as banking and is concerned, guidance from the European Banking Authority and all these things. I think it's helpful to a great extent.
Do you believe that law changes over time, and how does that affect your job now?
Well, I think law is alive. I think it's a living organism, and that is what makes it fascinating. It changes every day. You cannot be certain about the reply you gave, that the reply you gave yesterday applies today, which is very interesting if you ask me. There's something new every day, but that's why, and I think that's what makes a good lawyer, and that is why I mentioned before that it doesn't matter what university you go to. The idea is for you to acquire the right skills to be able to find the knowledge, to process the knowledge, and to apply the knowledge. So long as you have the skills, you don't really worry about the information. You will find the information and you will apply it just fine.
What is one piece of advice that you will give to a new law student?
Well, I think I pretty much said everything I could say. I would say enjoy the experience. I can say for sure that my undergrad was one of the best and worst experiences of my life. It's the truth, because I'm a public school kid, so everything was new to me. I had to adapt to a new environment. I had to, get used to being away from my parents for the first time ever, to behave like an adult, do my own food, which was a novelty for me. But it was the best time of my life, because when you're open to new things, I met people that helped me realize that some of my opinions and approaches in life were too strict. I had the opportunity to meet some very good friends. And I think uni life helped me a lot with, prioritizing. I acquired some very newly found organizational skills I didn't know I have. And I got to, learn new things and acquire new skills like everybody else. So I would say don't stress too much. You don't need to figure it out 100%. You will figure it out along the way, or you will never figure it out. I don't think I ever figured it out, but that was fine. So it's okay. I would say question everything. Be critical about everything. Anything that you read, always ask why. Be open to, new people and new stories. And this is what will help you become a new lawyer. Just be open to new things and experience everything, but at the same time, question everything. I think the best quality that the university can teach you is how to be critical, how to, critically assess everything, not just read the information and repeat the information, but have an opinion on what you read. Like, do I agree? Do I not agree? Why is that though? And how would I consider that it can be better? I don't think that law students understand that they can actually make a difference, because the more they know, the more critical they can be, and the more they can contribute towards making something better and towards changing something that is not working. And I can say that because, like, for example, now you go and ask for a loan, right? You need to know your rights before you do that. Otherwise, anything that any bank officer will tell you goes. So if we want to change something, we need to be aware of our rights, and we need to stand up for that and ask why. So I would say yes. Law students are they can be very powerful, and they can contribute towards changing the world and making it a better place. So you guys have a big responsibility for the future.
Do you believe that you as a person change law in Cyprus in an aspect or something?
Changed. Okay, so change is slow in Cyprus, but because there is a process. I mean, it's not like, oh, the lawyers don't like this law, let's change it. You know, I wish, but that's not the case. However, what I do appreciate in Cyprus is that we have a lot of knowledgeable lawyers. We have a lot of knowledgeable young lawyers, a lot of talent. And what I like even more is that they have personality. So I really think that, okay, change is slow, but it's not impossible. We just need to be patient and, be persistent.
When you joined university, what is the one lesson that you actually learned from there?
From university?
Yes.
Well, I think the most important lesson I learned at university was to be critical about everything. Well, when you leave your country, you leave your family behind, you leave your friends, and a school that was really protective. It was a safe place. You didn't really need to question too much. And the approach with education in Cyprus is more of a theoretical thing. So the critical assessment of things, at least in my mind, was quite limited. It could have been better, and in any event. So leaving all that, the safe place, the following the rules without questioning them too much, because that's it and you do that. I think the best thing that I acquired at university was when my professors and my tutors were asking me why. You say this answer, the answer is correct, but why? So in the beginning, that was a huge shock for me, because I would read through the material, I would find the answers, I would cite the case law, fine, go and say it. But when I actually had to justify my answer, that was a huge shock for me in the beginning. So that's when I started to ask why, even to myself. Why do you think that? How would you argue in favor of that? What's the counter argument? Are you sure this is a reply you want to you'll be supporting? And at times I even changed my replies, because in reality I didn't think that was my point of view. So the correct answer is not always your answer, is not always your opinion. And I've learned that you can have many different replies so long as you can support them correctly. So one case or two cases or three cases, you can cite the same thing and come up with a very different conclusion every time. So I think this was a gift, actually, to know that you can have many different approaches and not a one single right and wrong answer.
If you could say something to your 18-year-old self, what it will be?
Oh, my 18-year-old self. Okay. It will be what everybody says. Don't stress too much. Life is going to happen whether we stress too much or not. So I would say just make sure you take some time to enjoy the ride.
Thank you, Ms. Rania, for having you today here. It was a good conversation.
Thank you for having me.